Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favorite actors with just one of her works, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. After I read that, she has since become one of my favorite authors, and Forever Interrupted is her debut work much before her rise to fame. In the story, we are introduced to a couple named Elsie and Ben. They were flirting as a newlywed about Elsie's new name when she suddenly wants fruit pebble, a cereal they never ate. Ben rise to the occasion and went out on his bike to buy some. And that is the last time Elsie ever saw him because he got into an accident with a truck on his way back home that killed him. Yeah, insert raccoon joke here. After his death, we'll realize the added twist to the story because it will be the first time Elsie ever met her mother-in-law, Susan, that have to process both her son's death and her son's marriage at the same time since they eloped around a week ago without wedding party or any invitation. Which is not only a great premise, but it also builds some tension to the characters and adds a unique dynamic to them. We then get our first flashback to around 6 months ago when she first met Ben the first time and how they got closer really quickly. And that's how the story will progress. It alternates back and forth between these two timelines from when she grew closer to him and when she grew further from him. The start of the book is quite rough. We randomly drop immediately on two strangers being super lovey-dovey. Then the woman Elsie randomly wants some fruit pebble. Then the husband randomly went out to get it for her. Then randomly he got hit by a truck and died. And it's really hard initially to care since we barely know these characters. Elsie also keeps saying that she's not usually like this. Well, part of me believes that the grief makes her act out of character. But the other part of me are not sure about that since we only know this from her exposition. It makes the start and the progression a bit slower than it can be. It does help that there's not much character in the story, so there's not much else that slows down the story progression. Besides Elsie, Ben, and Susan, the only major character in the story is Anna, Elsie's only friend, the usual more attractive friend of the main female character. And it did get better after a while as the story progressed and we got to know more about these characters. And after a while it makes more sense after we know about what the story explores, the randomness in life and in our choices. Elsie, as I mentioned, randomly met Ben, they randomly fell in love, they randomly got married, then all of a sudden he randomly died on an accident. There will always be something in life that we did not see coming due to its chaotic nature, which the author put aptly in the book. How can we expect people to stick to their word about anything when the world around us is so arbitrary, unreliable, and senseless? But with that said, while I can understand the concept the author is trying to go through the story, I think the execution is a bit lacking and leaves the story and character a bit unsatisfying. As a rule with storytelling that alternate between two different perspectives needs both of the story to be as compelling as each other, or at least at around the same level. But the story of Elsie's past when she's getting closer to Ben is just regular romance, the ups and downs in the relationship. The only difference is that we know it's gonna end in tragedy. And because the other perspective, the one where Elsie is dealing with that tragedy, is much more compelling, every time the story goes back to the past, a lot of the early part of the past really feels like padding. But not all of them feel that way, and they got better after the initial slowness of the story are gone. Also, a lot of the time the events of the present and the past mirror each other and have some connection to make them feel less disjointed and to flesh out the story and the character more. For example, around the time when Elsie is in the process of healing, she started trying to box Ben's items including books etc. And in the present, they're having a silly debate about which books goes where. And back in the present when Susan came to help clean up, Elsie gave her Ben old pillow that still have his smell. One of the most common memory trigger to remember someone, especially while grieving. Then we see the past around the time Ben first started to move into her house and he brings his old stinky pillow that he usually used to sleep. The same pillow that is now one of the last things that contain his smell. It's a bit cheesy and it can feel like Captain Tsubasa, there's flashback montage each time the characters are about to do something. But a lot of them do add to the story. I think the main issue is that there's just too much of them, and if there's less of this flashback, the overall story might be much better. And to be fair, this is the author's debut work, and I kinda have to compare them with her other much more polished work just because. What arguably is her magnum opus, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, the much more experimental Daisy Jones and the Six that has been adapted into a series, and my personal favorite, Malibu Rising, are some of the best fiction I've read, And a lot of them, they belong to the same Taylor Jenkins universe along with the slightly underwhelming Carmi Soto is back. I can still remember most of these books since they're the kind of stories and storytelling that sticks with you. And for the debut work, there are already a lot of really well written quotable moments. Some of it feels more forced since the context and writing surrounding them are not supporting them that well. They're like pieces of puzzle that don't fit, but a lot of them are really well placed and they're still sign of great writing nonetheless. Here's a few other examples that I like. Ben always said when he was 90, he treated me the same way. I had only known Ben for about 3 weeks, so while it was a sweet thing to say, it was also foolhardy and arrogant. It was naive and intoxicating. This is what happens when you are your parents' only child, when they wanted more but couldn't have any, when they procreated for the purpose of building mini version of themselves. This is what happens when they realize you aren't going to be like them and they aren't sure what to do about it. It's about you. Your life has always been about you. That's what makes it your life. And without comparing this unpolished debut work to her later works, you can already see glimpses of a good storyteller even if in such an unpolished work. There are actually quite some interesting story and concept being explored here. Parts of where Elsie grief for Ben has so much detail that are legit heartbreaking. A few of those really remind me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode of The Body, where Buffy's mom died from a sudden brain aneurysm, and the characters then have to deal with this sudden loss that they cannot deal with how the characters usually deal with problems, which is punch their way out of these problems. And beside the theme on grief, there's also another layer, which is an interesting exploration about people's relationship and time from how short Elsie's relationship with Ben. Do you measure how people love each other only through time? Because I've seen people who are married their whole life and they and their children are so miserable, none of them are looking forward to spending more time together at home. If it's not just time, then there should be something more important in the way that people express their love and moving forward with their relationship. This, I think, is one of the more interesting topics explored through the story. The surface layer, the process of grieving, healing, and moving forward, has been done so much, it is kind of a trope that might be cliche to some, but I think this did a few interesting tweaks to the story that makes it more unique than most of its kind. And there is a reason why it's a kind of story that we still explore even today on stories like Free Run. I think it's because it's an interesting and complex topic that have a lot to dig into. Some of the execution of the story are a bit lacking, but for a debut, I really think the book is still worth it, especially if you're a fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid. Even if it's just to see how much she has improved her writing skill compared to her later works, I give this a 3.25. What do you think? Are you gonna read it? Did I miss anything? Leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it.